This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, and we present to you, dear listeners, a very special VORW program. That's right, you guessed it. It is the 100th VORW show. It is VORW show 100. 100. 100, the long-awaited 100th VORW show. So, little congratulations there. Let me put the microphone down and give myself a little golf clap for this monumental occasion. Okay. Taking a celebratory sip of water. And let's start off another VORW show. So it's 100th. Yes, 100. We have made it over a year. Over a year. Well over a year. Almost close to, to 2, years. Getting close. And 100 VORW shows. So this VORW show is going to be a longer one. It's going to be a kind of a special one. I imagine this one's going to be long. So, seriously, just take breaks. Don't have to watch the whole thing at once. Don't even have to watch any of it. But if you do want to watch it, get some water. Probably get some popcorn too. Maybe some Rice Krispie treats. Those can be good if it's a reputable. If it's good, You get some Rice Krispie treats. Some gummy worms. Sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for a long show. I imagine it'll be, probably go over 2 hours, perhaps. Because, number one, I haven't done a show in like, forever. So we got that. So probably about an hour of discussion. And then following that, we also have, probably in about an hour, including discussions with that also, an hour of fan letters and appreciative comments and well wishes from many loyal listeners. Keep in mind that this program is also going to be on SoundCloud, alright? Because there will be some periods of music in this program. And that'll be uploaded shortly at a later date. We just want to get this raw show up for all of you first. And then you'll also get a VORW show on SoundCloud, which will have some extra content in it. And that'll be very prominently linked in the description. And all that. So I'm walking on this creaky floor again. We're home. Back in Review Bra land, back in the office here. The reviewing chamber, the reviewing edifice. And we're back pacing around the table, as I have done many times in the past. So, here we are again. Alright? Here we are again. Well, here we are. We weren't in Review Bra land for a while. We'll get on to that. In this show, you can expect a variety of topics. We'll talk about the trip to Florida. Anything from there. Talk about just anything going on with the channel. Miscellaneous topics. Then, of course, because this is the 100th VORW show, there's going to be a VORW-centric program also, which is just briefly going to describe the history of VORW for the probably 4th or 5th time in this show's run. But, there's always time for one more. So I'll describe that, the history of this show. Not in tremendous detail, but I'll explain, what gave me the motivation to start this, how it's been going, changes from the beginning, and where we plan on taking VORW. So, we got that. And then, of course, there's standard fan mail, letters. We have some fan art, too, which I'd love to showcase throughout the program. So, we've received some submissions, some posts, and, I'd love to just feature them and really be able to just, show off your work, to other viewers and listeners. So we got that, and hope you can enjoy the show. Hope you do. All right. It is 2:31 a.m. Eastern Time. It is Sunday, the 6th of September, 2015. And here we are, Here we are. Just uploaded a review, believe it or not. We just did. It's this this video here. Let's see, which one is this? It is the infamous, right? Great Value purified drinking water versus the Great Value spring water review. So we just uploaded that. So I'm kind of checking it out right now. Got some comments coming in high speed. So I guess people posted it, I reviewed water. I did. I reviewed water. Yes, I did. And for those of you who didn't want to watch the whole 13 minutes, which I don't blame you, there actually was a difference. But which product was different from which? Ooh, I'm not going to reveal that much. You got to watch the review to find that out. But anyways, if you want some backstory on this review, and then I'll tell you a little bit about my trip. The water review. I've kind of, ever since I started this channel in 2011, believe it or not. 2011, yeah, when I first actually started this channel, even I've thought about reviewing water. I have, but it's strictly energy drink channel. This is really my first beverage I reviewed that, number one, didn't belong to any sort of series whatsoever. You could see at the beginning I kind of just left a little pause because it's not Energy Crisis or Running on Empty, it's just a review. Water is neither an energy drink or at least a caffeinated beverage. You can say water, it gives you energy, without it you die, so it gives you energy to live. You could say it's an energy drink, but I mean a caffeinated beverage. And most water is not caffeinated, so it's not a food review, of course. So it's kind of just its own little entity. But anyways, I've been meaning to review water for the longest time, just kind of almost as a little joke. But I mean, it's a serious review. Don't get me wrong. It's dead serious. I legitimately just reviewed it as though I was reviewing an energy drink. That's what I did. But take it more of as like a little lighthearted review. And the last video for now at this locale. Before the next videos, we'll switch back to the standard, table up here in Interview Broadlands. But, take it as just a little lighthearted, almost parting video from Florida. So you could take it as that if you'd like. I was in Florida. I was there for some time. Not quite 2 weeks, but around there. You might be wondering the premise of the trip, why I went down to Florida. Review Broad, did you go on an excursion to review fast food? Were you with family? What was the occasion that you traveled? No, I wasn't going down there for the specific purpose of reviewing. I did not. I was just there for, I guess just personal reasons, Just went down there and, traveled solo again. But anyways, that's why. But when I was down there also, I got some reviews in at the same time. Florida was hot. Florida was hot. For you Floridians out there, you know what I mean. It's almost painfully hot down there, but thankfully, due to my nocturnal schedule, I slept through the majority of the days, when the sun was highest in the sky and temperatures highest as well. So I slept through most of that, and still, I mean, they said, temperatures were getting, into low hundreds at times. Heat index getting to around 118. I looked on AccuWeather one day. Crazy. And then there's your thunderstorms every day. Every day around 5 p.m. Everyone thinks Florida, it's going to be this tropical paradise every day, all day. But no, it's most of the time it's boiling hot, humid, and just thunderstorms. But, I dressed for the weather. I did. Packed 2 short sleeve white dress shirts. Packed a long sleeve white dress shirt. And packed a gray long sleeve dress shirt. A bunch of ties, and I picked up some other ties down in Florida. So perhaps you saw some new ties I was wearing. And also brought down some dress pants, socks, shoes, of course, which I wore in, and a suit as well, which can be pictured in the Steak and Shake review and the Water review. So anyways, it was very nice. As I said, I didn't go to Florida just to review things. Had my own reasons, but there were some places down there which would really, be nice to review. So I took as much, as many chances as I could, but I mean, there's still more that I would have reviewed. Some good restaurants down there, though, I will say. Down there in Florida. Let's see. What did we review? We reviewed the Arby's sliders, yeah. We reviewed the jalapeno roasty and the chicken and cheese. Those were new. Not really too many Arby's up where I am, unfortunately. Then we just tried out, Kerr's Wing House. Just to really try it out, kind of see how it was, if you will. Those, I'll get to that later. And then we also tried out the Wendy's grilled chicken sandwich, because actually, it's not even on the menus nationwide, but they're trying them out in select cities, these sandwiches. And in the Orlando region, there was, and they said all the Wendy's establishments in the Orlando region were serving these sandwiches, so I knew I had to pounce on it. So I reviewed that. Also tried out Steak and Shake. Then I was going to try out a new donut from Dunkin' Donuts, but there's an issue with that. And then, of course, Wada. But, so let's take it from the top. Kerr's Wing House was something. Now, people did correct me on this, and thank you for those of you who did. Kerr's Wing House and Hooters both came from Florida, and I didn't, research my Hootersology beforehand, so that's my fault. But Kerr's Wing House is pretty much just like Hooters. It's like, standard bar food. Got their bar, then some tables around it. Got some television sets up there playing the latest sports game. Whatever that may be. I know in football season, I think there's some, I don't know, those of you who know me well enough, I'm not a real sports person. So, I don't even know if there's football. I think there's something going on with football right now, so they probably had that on the televisions. But, they serve their wings, their burgers, probably some sandwiches, and, of course, alcoholic beverages. And of course, to add to the restaurant theme, they have, the waitresses wearing rather, skimpy outfits, one could say, with, everything hanging out, pretty much. But, their wings were they were okay. Just got it to go. And the one problem that I noticed from Kerr's Wing House was that there wasn't any sauce on the wings. I mean, I took a chance, alright? In Review Brahland, wings come, thoroughly coated with the sauce. Down here, I didn't know any better. I mean, I knew prior that you should probably get the wings, with extra sauce, or wet, as they call them, but this was... I just thought, well, maybe that wasn't the case, but I was wrong. And, the wings themselves were, they were good quality wings, the meat was they were big wings, too. They were grade A, you could tell Kerr's Wing House, they definitely put some money in their wings, and they definitely got good quality ones, but there wasn't any sauce on it, so it was kind of a disappointment. Why the heck, right? Should you even call them hot wings when you can't even taste the hot sauce on them? And I joked around in the review, I thought, is it because of all the old snowbirds that go down to Florida? They don't like hot things, but believe me, the clientele in Kerr's Wing House wasn't, 65 plus. It was more like a lot of guys in there, probably, I'd say late teens through, probably late 30s into their 40s. Maybe even some older men too, but a lot of younger guys, and a few guys probably had their, partners with them as well. So there was that. Explained the Wendy's thing. Steak and Shake, too. That was another good place down there. Oh, first, and this wasn't a review, but I also did go to Hooters. I also got that to go, and I tried out their wings, too, and that had the same problem. Lack of sauce, but we did get extra sauce on them. Their sauce was just weird. The waitress there, she said something to us about butter, something with their sauce with butter, and I don't know, it was just weird. The wings were just almost flavorless and really, really oily. And then there were these mounds of sludge at the bottom of the little styrofoam container, and you're supposed to, I guess, dunk the wings in those, and that's the sauce. I don't know, it was just weird to me. Then there was Steak and Shake. That was darn good. Oh gosh, Steak and Shake. Whew. I wish there was one within walking distance, because I'd be going there every day. Steak and Shake every day. Honestly, though. Steak and Shake that was good stuff right there. I mean, those burgers, gosh. I'd say that was second, at least from what I've tried. Right? People have other reviews and standards and whatnot, but at least the burgers I've tried so far, and I mean, Steak and Shake, they come, second after Five Guys. Just great burgers. Great burgers, honestly. Then after that, that donut, that was an error. And then finally the water review, but, just went down there to Florida. Enjoyed the area. I did visit Disney. Anything else? No, we, just reviewed stuff. Now I'm back up here. What reviews are going to follow, nobody knows, but if you have any requests, preferably for any popular items of fast food, you know the type, popular fast food, perhaps. If you have any suggestions at all, just let me know. Please just tell me, and they'll be, I'll try to review them as best I can. Just like we tried at, the Taco Bell Daredevil Grillers, the Burger King chicken fries, the fiery ones, McDonald's buttermilk sandwich, Arby's, and so forth. If you have any requests for popular fast food items, just leave it below in the comments. And I'll try my best to get to them. So there's that. Alright, there's that. We're back now. Close to 20 minutes into the broadcast. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. 100th VORW show blowout, as one can say. 100th VORW show blowout. So continuing on, the channel now. Channel's got comments back. Channel's got comments back, and a lot of people seem very pleasantly receptive to them. A lot of people are happy that the comments are back. Some are kind of, surprised. Someone just commented right now. They said, "Holy S, you enabled comments or something." Anyways, though. So, comments are, they're going. They're gone. Very, very positive. They might be here to stay. I think they will be. Not, I always thought comments would be a lot more negative than they are, so it's kind of surprising to me to see that. But, just going. Don't have anything bad to really say about them. So the comments are going. They are. They're still coming in right now as we speak. And you can feel free to leave a comment below in the comments section, which is now open, of this video. VORW show number 100. 100. Yeah, 100. 100. 100. Okay, whatever you show, 100. So, this channel's kind of been in the spotlight for, twice in the past week. 2 different instances, too. First time this was in the spotlight was an influx of Redditors from the subreddit Deep Into YouTube, it's called, where people will post YouTube videos and that are apparently deep into YouTube. They gotta fit these characteristics, and if they do, can post it, and some people like it. It's remember back in 2009, 2010, people would always post on some weird video and say, "I'm back in the weird part of YouTube again." Don't really see that anymore, but back in the weird part of YouTube. This is kind of where it went, I imagine, to Reddit. So people post the videos they found. I've checked it out a few times after I saw one of my videos was posted there back in June, too. It gained some attention. I'll check it every now and then. Once I found this really cool rock song from the early 90s that someone posted. I thought that was actually pretty nice. But anyway, someone posted an old video of mine. It was old. It was from a bygone era in Review Bra history. It really was. It was from let's check this. From 2012. Late 2012, this video. Someone posted it. I'm going back right now to kind of check it out, which one it was again. It was one of the last reviews I made before the channel blew up in January of 2013. Yeah, the video that kind of blew up was the video that was posted on the Reddit was called TGI Fridays Crispy Chicken Wings Review. So it's here, part of the Running on Empty series. Hello everyone, this is Running on Empty. Food review. So, another weekly review today. Using a mini fried pie. Yep, I think this is the one that was posted. I'm pretty sure. Let me check the statistics here. Yep, there was a jump in views. It said I got 8,000 apparently, in that one day. So, I guess jumped it up now from around 18,000 to close to 28,000. It's about, let's see this. What was I going with back in 2012? Sweater and tie set, it looks like. And what color What color pants did I come in with on the video? Let's see this. Standard, oh, gray pants. I remember those pants. I'll still wear them from time to time in the winter. Kind of fit. Anyways. So that video was posted on Reddit, deep into YouTube. So we had the influx of some Reddit folk coming in. Some of them subscribed, some of them commented when able to do so, messaged, so forth. And then, the very next day, believe it or not, there was another thing that came up too. And, I mean, some people don't get it. Heck, if I wasn't me, I wouldn't have gotten it either. This channel with 2 million subscribers called Boogie2988. You might remember, there's 2 million subscribers. Many millions more, I imagine, have heard of him. So, I imagine a lot of you have heard of him, but he's a kind of popular channel.
What's up?
On YouTube. Anyway, he made a video. He made a video called Francis Reviews the McWhopper. And, you know, apparently people didn't notice, you know, in the description that said this is I'm backing him up here, okay? People apparently didn't notice. It says this is a parody of the Review Bra. Go tell him I said hi, and he linked the channel. Apparently people didn't notice that, and they kind of hated on him for this video because he was reviewing the burger, kind of in a lighthearted parody of my channel and the whole McWhopper craze, you know. And people they were hard on him, you know, because he's a portly fellow. And they were saying, you know, they were not nice to him. They were saying, you know, look at you fat ass, eating those burgers. You know, they were kind of mean to him. I mean, a lot of people were supportive, but some people were just mean about it. And maybe they knew it was a parody, and they just were still jerks, you know, trolls, and so forth. But, you know, I felt kind of bad for him, and he had to make a follow-up video about that. I guess he got enough of those bad comments. It kind of warranted a formal reply. But, you know, I feel bad for him. Have to get, you know, hated on like that, even if he just wants to eat a freaking burger just for a parody video, you know. I mean, that's awful, honestly. But feel free to check out his video. Francis Reviews the McWhopper. He's a nice guy, though. He is. He says he posted on the Reddit, too. He said he was subscribed for, or knew of the videos for about 2 years now. I figure he watches them. Said that his, what did he say? His wife is, I think, a patron for the Patreon. So that's pretty neat. But, you know, I appreciate him for doing the parody and, you know, hope everything goes well. It looks like the like-dislike ratio on his video is good. Many more likes than dislikes, but still, I imagine the haters were a minority, but a very vocal minority at that, as they often tend to be. But, you know, I thank him for that, I do. And, always did a great job. I enjoyed it. Got some nice laughs out of it, and, kind of surreal to see something like this happen, and you look and you think, oh my god, he's parodying me, you know. So, both those events led to kind of an influx of subscribers, about 1,000 we got between those two, maybe 1,500 or so, but we smashed through 30,000, 31,000, now we're past 32,000 subscribers, so that's nice, you know. The more the merrier, right? The more people exposed to the Review Bra disease. So anyways. So here we are. We're back. Don't have much else to talk about in the way of the channel. More views are going to be coming, of course. More views will be on the way. And, you know, they'll be coming. We got the ads working on the videos again, but we're not gonna put them in your face. That's I don't like that. I was down in Florida. I was using a computer, and I mean the ads on YouTube. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Often, sometimes I'll put up an ad blocker on my computer, but the ads on YouTube when I was using that computer, sometimes there was this one video ad, you couldn't skip out of it, and it was longer than the video I was trying to watch, And I think, I don't want to put those ads on my videos. I don't want someone to have to just, deal with that. Someone just wants to see the review, and now they gotta sit through this ad, they can't skip through it. It's not fun. No. No, not at all. So, the ads that I do have on the videos, I just make sure the vast majority, just those little, ones at the bottom of the video that you click out of. No massive disruption or annoyance there. So, anyways, that's what we got. That's pretty much all we have with the channel right now. Pretty much all we got. A little bit after 31 minutes. 31 minutes, 25 seconds on the timer. I think now is the time, since it is the 100th VORW program. Let's talk VORW. So, VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Now, it's my show, right? The Report of the Week's voice in the name. So this is pretty much my story. All right. The story, an explanation, might you say, of really how and why VORW came to be what it is, and even some changes that the show had from its conception to present. And believe me, there have been some changes, in that time period, if you may. There definitely have, most certainly, you could say. Now, I've gone over the history of VORW before. I've covered this probably 3 or 4 times now, but it's always changing, always evolving, always advancing, and, always progressing, if you will. So the history is always changing, just like history in real life. History is always changing, always something new is happening. Some changes, some good, some bad. But, things are always happening, and that needs to kind of be discussed and amended, if you will, and, made present, right? Put in the books, the history of VORW, why this show came to be, what happened, any differences between show number 1 and show number 100, which we have going right now. Firstly, just again, wanted to kind of apologize for the lateness of this show. This section of the show is being recorded, no lie, at a later date. Just, life was a little rough last few days, just a lot going on. Dealing with finances, money, all of that. Life, sorting life out, thinking about the future, all that stuff. And sometimes it can be hard work, sometimes it can be tedious work, sometimes it can just drain you down. So, just had a lot to do, very drained, started getting a little down on myself, and all that, but things are better now. I'm in a good mood. People, they were complaining. They said, I was waiting so long for this show, but I care about the show. I don't want to give you guys a piece of crap show. I think you all deserve the best content that you can get. I do. And to sit there like a, and I would, if I recorded this show yesterday, I'd sit there like a sad sack and just go on about how much, I'd give the show, but at the same time, I know there'd be plenty of hateful interjections, mostly towards myself, and it would be like a dirge. It wouldn't be really fun to listen to, so that's why. Might take some extra time, but I'm just trying to get you guys the best content, but that you guys deserve, especially for those of you who listen to all 100 or at least 99 shows right now. I mean, days and days of content right there. I mean, 99 hours, well over that, probably more like 120 hours, because I know many shows go over an hour in length. So, you know, I just want to get you guys all the best. And just because I care. I think you guys deserve good content, and that's what I want to give you. You know, good content. Don't want to give you guys garbage. Cause I think you guys deserve so much more than that. You know, so that's why I just want to give you guys somewhat quality content. Anyways, though, VORW, the voice of the report of the week. That's what it stands for. VORW. We'll get to the name, why it's named that, and so on. I mean, the first show was in, early-ish 2014. Now it's getting into late 2015. Still going. But VORW, really, the idea for it started in late 2012. Started out first with The Idle Mind, right? The Idle Mind was... it was interesting. It was kind of like my lecture series. Now, were they really, college lectures, done by a PhD, about extremely in-depth on topics which I had mastered? No, they were just kind of lighthearted little lectures, kind of fun, Wasn't obviously professionally done, but I liked it. I liked, sharing what little wisdom perhaps I had in that day and age with the world, and having a good time with it. Kind of modeled after the show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. If you watched the two, you'd see the similarities in some of them. But anyways, back to the point. The idea of going on for longer periods of time on certain subjects started with The Idle Mind. Now, The Idle Mind videos, again, kind of started back in late 2012, around literally about 3 years ago to this very day. We are getting kind of up there on the anniversary of The Idle Mind. I think it's already passed. So, I mean, it's been a while, But The Idle Mind kind of got that idea going. Because before then, I was kind of interested. I did a few test, videos. I did a lecture on drinking straws at one point back in early 2012. I did a lecture on bad drivers in mid-2012. No one ever watches those, pretty much. Just only know, within the last 2 years, I only know one single person who blatantly said she watched the bad drivers lecture in full. But, they're up there on YouTube for anyone to see still. Those were kind of like the precursors of The Idle Mind. But, for The Idle Mind, I just wanted to talk. As I said, use little props, kind of, and make a little lecture. And they weren't the longest videos in the world, obviously. Only about, in total, probably about 15 to 25 minutes or so. Which is still a good amount of time, but obviously these VORWs, they can go on sometimes for multiple hours. So I obviously have more to say, or at least I know how to BS more nowadays than in 2012. But anyways, the idea of the VORW shows first emerged in 2012, thanks to The Idle Mind. That kind of gave me that little taste of being able to sit there and really just talk about any random miscellaneous topic, for a length of time. That kind of gave me that first little taste. And yeah, it was on video, it's not audio. There is a difference. But it gave me that taste. It got me to see, well, this is what it's like, to do something other than just Energy Crisis or Running on Empty. The Running on Empty series was still kind of in its early days in 2012, but it was still going. But anyways, right? It gave me that taste to kind of stray from sitting there at the desk reviewing stuff to give me a little more creative control, if you will, to be able to just say, all right, what topic am I going to talk about today? What am I going to do here? And so on. And really, that's what the premise of VORW started out as. It started out, and we're going to get to this later, but it started out as Idle Mind without the camera. That's how it started out, pretty much. And if you listen to the first few VORW shows, and then go ahead and compare them to the VORWs of today, telephone. Only one ring, I guess. Anyways, so it was like the VORWs, the early ones, comparing them to the VORWs of today, the early VORWs were a lot more like the Idle Mind videos. And we're going to get on to that. But the first VORWs really got inspiration from the Idle Mind, and then kind of was molded and sculpted, kind of like a soft clay, kind of sculpted, did my own thing with it, and kind of molded it into its own show, its own entity, and that's when the real VORW brand, it's not a brand, but you know what I mean, the VORW as we know it came to be. Regardless, the Idle Mind came and went. Made the videos for a short time, but I kind of overworked myself. I was doing an Idle Mind show every day at first, and it just got to be a little too much, at the time. And you have to remember, in 2012, I wasn't really doing this I was just doing it for me, really. I didn't have that much of an audience, just had a maximum of maybe 10 people watching the Idle Mind shows. I mean, now, thousands of people have seen them. Some of them have become quite well-known and controversial to the point where I've removed them from YouTube. I haven't removed them, I've made them private, but they're gone, pretty much not coming back. But they're still there, of course. Anyways, the Idle Mind shows were not really watched by many people back then. The YouTube channel didn't always have 30-something thousand subscribers all the time, until the pizza review went viral. It did go viral, I guess. In early 2013, the channel only had about 200 subscribers and, around 30,000 views. So, a smaller channel. Percentage-wise, most of the channels on YouTube have 0 subscribers. Statistically. About half of those are probably spam accounts made in, wherever. But that's irrelevant. So, the idea for VORW was first planted in my mind in 2012. But after I filmed the Idle Mind videos, I didn't automatically say, alright, I got VORW here, I'm going to start recording these in 2014. That didn't happen. That obviously didn't happen. I didn't really get any urge to do an audio recording until early 2013. This was never uploaded. Maybe I have it still saved on the computer, I don't know. But for those of you who've been with the channel for years, who've been with us since probably the Reddit explosion, in 2013, right? When all the people from Reddit came over because of the Pan Pizza review, and all the a-holes from Barstool Sports came over, and all the people from College Humor came over. All those people. All the scumbags who have since left. A few nice people, genuine people came with all those people. And imagine maybe a few of you are still here listening right now. But if you remember from 2013, if you've stuck with us through the early days when the channel first became recognized, you'll remember that there was a time right after kind of it blew up when the channel, it kind of took a hiatus. About a month. It was down for a month, made everything private for a month. And then I started bringing things back little by little and began filming again a month later. It was the break I took for my own good, pretty much, because I was just wasn't handling it as I should have. Um, I wasn't really handling the situation with professionalism or dignity. And should an event like what happened in 2013 with the Pan Pizza review, should that ever happen again, it would be handled much differently than it was handled back then. Anyways, so during the hiatus, I kind of thought about different things, and I attained a microphone for my computer. And this isn't the microphone I record the VORWs with. This is more of like a digital audio, not the highest quality, not the best. Something I carry with me so I could kind of pace around, but it records the VORWs sufficiently and well enough that people can listen to them. The microphone on the computer was like an older, analog microphone, if you will. Like an old computer microphone, you can say. One of those ones from like the early 2000s, late 90s, when computers still kind of had that, that like whitish beige color that some of them had from back then. You don't really see computers of that color anymore. The old big CRT monitors of this, whitish beige color. It's in that same color, this microphone. So it's obviously technologically speaking, from a bygone era. I mean, maybe they still make them like that, I don't know. But I know it was an older microphone, but I got my hands on it. Recorded in decent enough quality. Kind of had to get your face a little close to it, but wasn't too bad. And I began testing something out with it. I thought, I got this microphone. Maybe I'll record a little something for the channel. So I tested something out. It was like a music type of show. And of course, had I uploaded it, channel would probably get suspended after a little while for copyright violations, because we all know how greedy YouTube is. But that was the second thing that kind of led me to VORW. Trying out this microphone, and my first real YouTube-oriented audio show. That was 2013. So, days went by. 2013 dragged on. It wasn't a good year for me. A lot of bad experiences, but it taught me some things about human nature, really. But that's a whole nother story. 2013 came and went. Late 2013 was bad. But then another thing happened in late 2013, early 2014, that directly led to VORW and its birth, its creation, its conception. What made VORW actually happen. And that was my interest in shortwave radio. Now, for those frequent VORW listeners, I talk about shortwave all the time. I mean, I say every single show, I listened to shortwave today. I wrote a reception report. I did this, I did that with shortwave. Listened to the radio, listened to the web SDR, listened on global tuners. I say all these different things about shortwave, But for those of you who don't know what shortwave is, shortwave radio is part of the radio spectrum, directly above the AM broadcast band. In your car, when you listen to the sports radio or to the news broadcast on AM, it goes up until 1700. Then it just stops, then you turn the dial. It doesn't go past 1700, maybe to 1710, but it just stops there. Usually go back to 500 and something, and it'll just repeat. It doesn't go past 1700. But I think we're all smart enough to realize that after 1700 and after 1710 kilohertz, there's a 1711 kilohertz and a 1712 kilohertz. 1713, there's 1800 kilohertz, 2000, 3000, 10,000, 30,000 kilohertz. There's frequencies after the AM band. The FM band is around 100,000 kilohertz. So there's space between those two. It's not like it's one magically there, then there's a black void between the two, then there's AM there. There's space between those two, and there's something filling that space. And part of that space is shortwave. Shortwave goes directly from the AM band at 1711 kilohertz all the way up until 30,000 kilohertz. Shortwave is kind of like AM radio. People use it for many purposes, but I like the broadcasting side. Shortwave, what makes it different from AM, is that the signals travel really, really far. They pick the right frequencies, use high-power transmitters. They'll broadcast a signal, and it'll go thousands, even tens of thousands of miles across the globe, right to your radio set, and you'll be able to listen to broadcasts across the globe. And I think that's fun. I like doing that. And I was really hooked on to that. That's where like number stations are too. That's where UVB 76 is. Ham radio that your grandpa used, or ham radio, younger people use it too. That commercial airliner you were on last week, they have a shortwave receiver in it. Ships, they have shortwave, some of them. They also have the Marine band, but that's a whole other thing. Air Force uses shortwave in some cases. Those EAMs you'd listen to on 8992, where you thought the world was going to end, that was shortwave. Lots and lots of stuff is used for shortwave, but also you can hear radio stations on it too, and that's my favorite thing. Could listen to broadcasts from around the globe. I'd listen to stations. I guess it did really make me a very cultured person, I'd say. Get to hear English broadcasts from India, Romania, China, North Korean propaganda, Australia, Kuwait, Oman, South Africa, Egypt, if you could ever hear them. The transmitters sound awful. France, Spain, Germany, Nigeria. Even be able to hear English broadcasts from Argentina, Ascension Island, Cuba, Canada, and of course plethora of stations in the US and elsewhere too. Shortwave is still popular, not in North America, but around the globe still. It's very vital in some regions. The BBC is active on shortwave, but it's more of a third world thing. Not really. It's a first world hobby, a third world necessity. That's what I'd call it. A lot of people in sub-Saharan Africa, they depend on their shortwave radio sets just for news, just to know what's going on in the world. But they have corrupt governments, lack of infrastructure, they don't have any other means of getting news. Can't afford what little internet there is down there, or there is no internet at all. Television is just sporadic, and due to lack of infrastructure, some radio is government controlled down there, or stations just don't have power, or they're vandalized, and shortwave is really a necessity in many places still, especially in areas where there's disasters, like the Middle East with all the terrorism. We could just go on all day just, going on about this. Yemen, how that's fallen apart, shortwave is needed there, and so on. Right, you could say if a zombie outbreak of Walking Dead proportions hit North America, you better believe shortwave would be essential if any other places in the world were still doing well enough to be able to broadcast to North America. So, just saying, it's still necessary, and it's a hobby I greatly enjoyed listening to. And shortwave was what really brought the Idle Mind to fruition. Or the VORW to fruition. I'm sorry, not the Idle Mind. What really brought the VORW show to what it is now. It's what finally inspired me after getting that idea from 2012 and actually trying it out in 2013. Come early 2014, one day, grabbed the microphone, and I decided, let's do this. Now, the first VORW show was just a recap of The Walking Dead. It wasn't really anything special. It was a recap of The Walking Dead. But come the second show, things started changing. Okay. Show number 2 was different than show number 1. As I said earlier, VORW show number 1, the very first program which I made, was just a recap of The Walking Dead. It was just a recap of this television show, which I saw. And if you want to get further in depth, you can say, okay, where did you get the inspiration for that? to make your very first program you can say, not original really, a recap of this television show? What made you do that to kind of kick off this new series, this new show, VORW? What gave you the motivation to do that? And the simple answer is, well, it was my own show, and I did not necessarily know what exactly to kind of start it with. So, to make it as smooth as possible, I wanted to go with this topic, which I was somewhat well versed in. Because obviously I'd never really before sat at a microphone and just talked. I really hadn't done that. Maybe once or twice, just kind of for fun, just to test out the microphones. You know, back when I was younger, I'd kind of mess with them. But that was for fun. That was purely for fun. Never to upload to the public, to the audience. You know, just for me to kind of play radio, play DJ when I was a child, and to kind of, you know, just let my creativity run wild. I used to do that all the time when I was little, but never to actually upload to an audience on YouTube. I mean, this is going back to pre-YouTube days here, early 2000s, with a cassette tape, believe it or not. I used to do that, but that's a whole nother story. But no actual, you know, practice really to do something. So I wanted to just do something that I was somewhat well versed in. I was a big fan of The Walking Dead, and I thought, you know, I could kind of babble on with this for a little bit. You know, I could kind of go on about this. I could kind of talk about this topic for a period of time. So that's how we began show number 1. Okay. And that's how we began the first VORW program. The second show was different. The second show is really when VORW kind of began branching out and becoming its own thing, its own show. But in this stage, in the early VORWs, it still needed time to develop, to mature, right? Like a fine alcoholic beverage, right? It needed time still. So, during that time, during the first, I'd say even 20 probably, maybe 15 to 20 shows, you could consider VORW to be Idle Mind with audio only. Simply, it was somewhat scripted, the show. Not fully, but somewhat scripted. And I covered miscellaneous topics in more of an orderly fashion. So, you can look right back, right now. You can pause this video. I'm not saying you have to, or you even should. But if you want to, you can pause this video right now. Scroll through I have a playlist now on the channel. I updated it just a little while ago, of the VORW uploads. And you can look through it, you could sort through it, you can search through it, and you can find the number 2, number 3, number 4, and so on VORW shows. And look in the title. Compare those shows to the ones today, for the most part. Most of the ones today say fan mail, general talk. Maybe something else after that, but mostly it's just that. Usually. Lately I've been talking about other things, like Patreon, things of the channel, and so on and so forth. Most of the time, though, I would just talk about random topics, just like the Idle Mind, because that's what I had to base this program off of, the Idle Mind. That's what gave me the inspiration for this. So, I would, usually hours, sometimes even days before, I would get a piece of paper, grab out my pen, click of the invisible pen, and I'd start scribbling down. I'd think to myself, all right, what are some topics you want to talk about? Let's say, as I said in the second VORW, let's say bagels. So I wrote down bagels. Then I didn't put bullet points, I put little lines. So a little dash. I put a dash, and then I wrote about bagels. Okay. Certain styles, native to these. I didn't watch the second show in a very long time, but probably things like that. I remember there's one perhaps when I talked about, wing collars. Wing collar, then a little dash. History thereof. Modern popularity. decline in usage? Am I still wearing them? Things like that. So it was somewhat scripted, but not fully. But I had this list of bullet points and the random topics I'd read that they would kind of move me through, they would guide me through. And in the end, it would produce roughly, usually around a 30, 40-minute show each time. And those guided me through these early VORWs before the show was able to build off of itself, build off of the community, and become its own entity. No paper or script needed. The VORW show, you might be wondering to yourself, you may have just heard of the channel recently, because I know a lot of people have actually came to this channel within the past month. They haven't, been here from the start, from when we started out with VORW. You might want to wonder, well, how did the public react to VORW? What did they think about it exactly? Did they like it? Did they hate it? What did they think about it? I mean, I'm checking out these old videos now, and there aren't comments enabled. What did they have to say about it? So VORW was... These are the first VORWs, not when it became its own entity, but really these are the first VORWs that were just like the Idle Mind shows, but with just a microphone. They were pretty well received. Some people said, yeah, they're a bit long, but, I'll watch them. A lot of people liked them. It was actually requested beforehand. And back then, a large part of my audience was from 4chan, from the 4chan Fit board. That's FIT, for fitness. And if you want to know how that popularity came about, it came about after the Misk on bodybuilding.com discovered my videos in 2013, early, and someone from there probably cross-posted it enough times to 4chan's fitness board when they kind of caught on. Their crew was aggressive, but at times supportive. They were the first that really said, you're probably autistic, and all these other things. And insults and saying, if I find, there were people, I got death threats from them. There are people who said, listen, if I ever see this guy on the street, I'm just going to kill him. Where they said, I'll find your information, I know, blah, 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 I'll come here, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. They threatened, some of them threatened my life. It's anonymous, you can't do anything about it. Such is the life of a food reviewer, right? But anyways, those were the days, But, some of them liked it, some of them didn't. Some of them said, no way I'm watching this crap, to put it in a more, let's make up our own word here, a dignitious manner, to say something with dignity, right? To put it in a more clean manner, one might say. So, some of them liked it. Some of them would suggest to me, well, how about you talk about weights next, or weightlifting, and so on. I remember they would post it onto 4chan, and some people liked it, and that's when it kind of caught on, because enough people, the reviews back then would get around 5,000 to 7,000 hits, and I'd say about 75% of those views were from 4chan. These videos, and they always get a little less hits nowadays, the VORWs, than the food reviews. They would only get around maybe 1,000 views, sometimes not even. But enough people stuck around, enough people messaged me, enough people contacted me, that made me realize, I'm not doing this for nothing. I'm not doing this for no one. People actually watch this, all the way through, too. They listen to what I have to say, they'll actually think about what I have to say, and they'll respond to what I have to say. And that really wasn't something I was too used to. I always assumed on YouTube, people will watch the first minute, maybe, of a video, like it, comment, X out, and move to the next. Didn't really expect people to watch it all the way through, but enough people did. That made me realize, oh my goodness, people are actually listening to this. This might actually be something. I might actually have a real audience that actually kind of cares about this show. And maybe I'll keep doing it. Because at the time, it was rough. Didn't know if I wanted to do the channel anymore. So VORW was also a nice break from things. It kind of gave me a little glimmer of hope, saying, you got something with this YouTube thing to work for now, to do. You have actual viewers and listeners who perhaps do care about this channel and what you do. They did it for them, really. On a little side note, you may be wondering, VORW, where did that come from? Why the name VORW? It's kind of, you might say whatever, you might like the name, you might hate it, but where did it come from? VORW stands for Voice of the Report of the Week. You might have heard of something like the Voice of America. That's a news organization. You might see every now and then a news story from them on Google News or something. Might have heard of them. Might have heard of... That's really the most prominent voice of station. But that's the name of a shortwave station. It's the name of a shortwave station, as I said. VORW really came to be because of the thing that gave it the final push was my shortwave enthusiasm. As a shortwave enthusiast, my shortwave listening, my shortwave hobby. There were stations all across the map, all across the radio bands, that had the title Voice of... Had the Voice of America, Voice of Greece, Voice of Turkey, Voice of Indonesia, Voice of Russia, R.I.P., they're not on the air anymore, Voice of Korea, or Voice of Career, as the announcers would always say. And there's some station called the Voice of China that's not official. I think it's a clandestine station going into China. So on, so forth. Can't forget the Voice of Nigeria, too, and their awful-sounding transmitters. And others. Those are the names of some very, very big shortwave broadcast stations. And because shortwave broadcasting ever so greatly influenced VORW and my idea to finally get my butt moving, get in gear, and to get this program started going on the air, or on YouTube, I thought, I think that's a pretty good name. How about Voice of, and then my channel name, Voice of the Report of the Week. And I abbreviated it to VORW, because RW, that's kind of the very, very short abbreviation of my channel. Some people call it TROTW, the Report of the Week. But even shorter abbreviation for me is RW, Report of the Week. Right, RW. But RW is used for many things, and, it's kind of like a really short abbreviation. So VORW, just 4 letters, just like radio call signs, where all those are just 4 letters. So kind of the same type of thing there. So that's where it all began. Now, as I said, the early VORW shows were like Idle Mind, with a microphone, without a camera, okay? But then with community support, when people started messaging me, when people started contacting me, and when I started doing more and more shows, I began to develop its own type of flavor, its own type of characteristics. And this really changed. This really happened after a few early VORW shows that almost made me stop with the series. Okay? This was the shortwave radio series, which you could say, in the life of VORW, this was that life-changing moment, that all-or-nothing decision that changed everything, when I did the shortwave lectures on VORW. Obviously, as a shortwave enthusiast, I decided, I think VORW would be the perfect place to talk about my hobby. So I made a little lecture series about shortwave radio. I remember sitting right here in this chair I'm looking at. And I remember sitting there with my little note sheet talking about shortwave, going on, uploaded one video. People were kind of interested in it. And I uploaded the one the day after. I used to upload almost every day back then with VORWs. Now, life is busy, and it's exhausting work. And I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But I uploaded it. People were fine with the first one. Then I uploaded one the next day about shortwave. And then one the next. By then, people kind of didn't want to hear about it anymore. They said, all right, I get it. I understand shortwave. I want to hear about something else. But I continued on with the shortwave series, and this led to some criticism. People didn't really like it. They didn't necessarily like the fact that I was focusing on this one topic, and it didn't really apply to them. They didn't like that. So they made their dissent apparent in whatever ways they could. Posted some stuff on the subreddit in its early days. Disliked the videos a lot. Posted it on 4chan, and they really, if that's one place, they'll just say it as it is on that site. At least back then they would. Oh, I don't give a bleep about this old bleep. They'll just go on this old. I don't give a damn about this old F and S. Come on, Review Bra. They would just go on and on, right? So, I was faced with something. People weren't liking the VORW anymore. They were messaging me on YouTube. They were saying, come on, man, I enjoyed these shows, now you're just ruining it by just talking about this one topic. So, I sat for a while, and I thought, well, what do I do now? So, I apologized. That video, I apologized for, I was also kind of neglecting the reviews. I was mostly focusing on VORW. So, I apologized. I said, listen, I'm sorry. I've been focusing on all this and not giving the reviews the attention they need, and I'm sorry for talking about this topic, which no one really cares about, and so on. It was, I guess, well received, and I suppose I was forgiven. And from there, what happened? Well, I kind of uploaded one more show about the shortwave, and I called that series quits. I kind of canceled it. And this is when there was a total paradigm shift in the premise and creation and format of VORW. So what happened exactly? What change was there? What caused this change? What exactly happened? Well, I changed the show. I said, all right, let's try something else. I've done about 15 to 20 shows now. Don't really need that paper anymore. Let me try something. Let me try to improv the show. Perhaps, because some people asked me in messages, can you read this on the show? Can you give a shout out to so-and-so? I thought, well, how about I just go on, talk about my day, talk about the channel. How about I read some of these letters I get too? So that's what I did. I wrote only about 5 in one show, talked a bit, and thus the VORW as we know it was born. I didn't mind it. I felt rather comfortable, believe it or not, and more comfortable actually just talking on my own with no script whatsoever, rather than having to be confined to the script and have to look down and think, oh, good, all right, here's the next little bullet point. What am I going to say about this? And it's more structured, kind of more just like you're a little, student sitting there in front of the class giving a speech to everyone, rather than being an actual kind of like speaker, just pacing around and talking to an audience. I think there's differences between the two, but some may agree, some may not agree. So thus, the VORW as we know it was born. There it came, into fruition. It crawled out of the sludge, grew its little land legs, and now it is alive. And that's where VORW started. That's where it came from. And that is where the VORW of today was born. But that was Review Bra. When did that happen? That happened like last week or something? Is that all there is to this history? Of course not. Of course not. This is VORW show number 100. And we are going to say the entire history. Those are the early days. Prepare for a long show, my friends. Probably 2 to 3 hours at this point. So sit back, relax, get another glass of water, heat up some more popcorn, get some more cookies. It's going to be a long one. Get ready, my friends. And remember, if you don't want to watch this whole thing, you don't have to. If you do, good for you. And you could think about how I sat here recording it for 3 hours, too. Or however long it actually takes. I'm not saying it's actually going to be 3 hours. So anyways, after the VORW of today was born, that was only May of 2014. It was only about 2-3 months since, the VORW show even came to existence. So, some things have obviously changed since then. Now, the VORW show from then kind of stabilized for a bit. It really did. I realized that this is the style that I'm going to stick with. I'm going to really talk about things. Going to just, talk for a while. I'm going to move from topic to topic. Discuss things in life, current events, the channel, whatever it may be. And then read letters of appreciation, read fan mail, constructive criticism, all of that good stuff. And that's what I did. Then the show format kind of evened out, kind of got into almost a quiet period during the summer of 2014. In that, I did increase the frequency of uploads. A lot of people were writing in. That was probably the golden age of VORW. Uploaded almost every day, every other day, very, very often. Got around 30 to 40 letters a day. And that would just be the show. I just read letters, respond to them. Kind of like a mailbag show. Open up the mailbag, interact with the viewers and the listeners. And that's all that there is to it. So, what happened from there? Well, kind of lulled. Nothing really special happened. Read letters, talked about things, but nothing really monumental happened in VORW history through the summer of 2014. The next big event takes place in December of 2014, but between probably September and December of 2014, the number of shows in frequency decreased. During November, I think there were very, very few. Same with December. My health was on the decline. I really don't want to talk about it, but it was some very, very severe problems, almost debilitating, if you will. Not like I was going to die, but, some of it, wasn't in the hospital or anything, didn't really get any medical treatment for it, by my own wish. I had wishes of mine. But I know people have, in some severe cases, died from it. But it kind of shut me down. Couldn't really do much with the channel. I was in no condition at all to successfully be able to record a full-length VORW show. It was some rough times for me. Throughout probably parts of October, November, and December. Okay? It got difficult. But by mid to late December, my health began to clear up again. It was just months of just pain and misery almost, but it began clearing up. And in late December, I saw an offer. Not an author, like a person who writes a book, but an offer. And I apologize for my accent and speech, but a business offer. Right? That was another game changer for VORW. Now, over the year, it was a long dream of mine to one day be able to get VORW on shortwave. I didn't expect it to happen anytime soon. Okay? But I thought one day, what if, because all these shortwave stations in the U.S., they lease their airtime to people. Most of the time they release it to, these rich preachers, like those guys you see, wearing the fancy suits on TV, claiming the world's going to end. They're out there in front of this stadium full of people waving their Bible, telling them to repent, A lot of the people who buy airtime on these shortwave stations are those preachers. In one way or another, they often claim the world's going to end. This is it. This is Armageddon. Or you get the real interesting ones who they go on about how, the gays are all going to burn in hell, And then there's this real good one. He has this program. He's dead, but they still air his stuff. He's called Scriptures for America with Pastor Peter J. Peters. And he goes on about how the white race is the tribes of Israel, and they're God's chosen people, and all this stuff. You have survivalists on the shortwave. And then you have other neat programs too. You have some music programs and others. But the airwaves, at least the shortwave bands in the U.S., are dominated by these very powerful signals from these nutcase preachers. All right? I'm not taking shots at religion. I'm just saying what I feel all these people are. They're absolute just lunatics, and they're so full of it. And all they want is just money. They're just good business people. That's all they are. Anyways. So, I thought, maybe one day, there will be an opportunity where I'll be able to somehow afford to get this show on one of those stations. Well, I expected it to be having to put my entire paycheck, once I get a job, into this, and save money, and be able to get this show on the air for maybe a month or two. Well, was I in for a surprise? I look on the website of WBCQ.com. They're a shortwave station out of Maine, Monticello, Maine, to be exact. They were started in the late 90s by Mr. Alan H. Weiner, a former shortwave pirate. And it was a free speech radio station with the intention of being made for someone who wants to get their program broadcast to get it on the air. And they're that one station that isn't fully dominated by these preachers, but they actually have people who are there to play music, to have other programs, other than just religious stuff. They're that one station that has all these types of people. And this is when I realized why they do. On their website was an offer. It said, you can broadcast on 5110 kilohertz of our 50 kilowatt transmitter, Monday through Friday, any day, any weekday. Guess what the rate was? I checked the rates of other stations. Cheapest one I saw was $60 an hour. So one had to lock you in a monthly contract for $16,000 a month. One is charging $38,000 a month. You know what this station charged for an hour? $20. $20 an hour of broadcasting. I already knew what I was going to do. I said, done. Assembled some funds, and I went in. Contacted Mr. Alan Weiner, went through. He said, well, congratulations, John. Welcome to WBCQ. VORW was on the air. One of my dreams in life was fulfilled right there. Something I didn't expect to happen, maybe even ever, at least not for probably 10 years, maybe 15 years. And in 15 years, I hate to say it's a pessimistic view, but I really don't know how many shortwave stations are still going to be around in the U.S. anymore. Maybe a few holdouts like WBCQ, they might still be around, but I think a lot of them are going to eventually go under. But I think at least for the next 10 years, I think they'll have a good future, but I'm just so thankful I was able to get this deal while shortwave is still listened to and still has an audience. So, I took the deal. And I was booked, I was paid for, and I was on 5110 kilohertz shortwave frequency Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 11 o'clock p.m. to 12 o'clock midnight Eastern Time. VORW was an actual radio show. And an international radio show, too. Believe it or not. Broadcast all across the globe. So you might be wondering now, well, what exactly did the VORW shortwave show have that was so different than the VORW YouTube show? Was it the same thing? Did you take old, YouTube recordings, put them on the air for people to listen to? Or did you make your own show? Well, my friends, totally original show. And here's what made it different than the YouTube one. Now, there was really one, and only one, major difference between the YouTube VORW and the shortwave VORW. And that one difference was that there was music in the shortwave VORW. In fact, you could say it was a very music-oriented program. And structurally, it was formatted to accommodate such a thing. So I guess you could also say that was another difference. But that was the main difference, that there was music in the shortwave VORW. Because, let's face it, shortwave radio is not like YouTube. There's not the copyright police that's out to get you and suspend the station because you're playing some music. That's not how it works on shortwave. Even the FCC doesn't give a crap about what you do on shortwave. They've given up on it, pretty much. So, there's no copyright regulations, no restrictions, nothing holding you back. So, what did I do on the shortwave service of VORW? I'd start it off with usually a 3 to 5 minute greeting, similar to the ones on the VORW broadcast. Talk about various things, anything going on in life, ask the audience how they're doing. Usually I'd bring up the weather, talk to them about that. Then I'd have a news bulletin for roughly 2 to 4 minutes in length, where I'd read the news headlines and on bigger stories, get into them a little bit. And then after that, for the remainder of the show, I would play music, ranging from popular hits that were just released, a ton of music from the 90s and early 2000s, and then some tunes also from the 70s, 60s, 80s, even some tunes from the 30s and 40s that were big band music. So I played a large variety of music, and it would just be a mix. You might hear one song from 1975, the next from 2005, and then a song after that from 1995. So it would bounce around, lots of different genres, lots of different songs, very eclectic variety, but I made sure that all of the, the listeners on shortwave were able to voice their own opinions. I would give an email for the show, and people would be able to call in and just request, a tune if they had one that they wanted, to really be requested, I guess you'd say, So, that's how the show went. Then 30 minutes passed after playing some music. There would be a little time signal at the half hour. I don't know if you'd really be familiar with that. That's kind of like these, kind of like before a movie starts, those old films, or before some music videos or something. There'd be a little countdown with 5 little pips and then a longer one, 5 little beeps. I'd play one of those at the half hour to mark the time, and then I'd read out the show's email, contact information. I'd give people an email where they could request songs to, send reception reports. I'd QSL any reports, send out a QSL card. And then the next half hour, play some more music. Then, at 50 minutes past, I would say my goodbyes, close up, always thank the audience. And then I would finish the show always and every time by playing an Oasis. Usually, most of the time I'd finish it off by playing an Oasis song, tuned by the band Oasis. And that'd be the show. So we were booked 11 o'clock p.m. to 12 o'clock midnight on 5110 kilohertz, twice a week. And That was originally going to be through January and some of February. So, worked good. Sometimes that frequency wasn't the best, though. Sometimes it really wouldn't make it out too far, or no one was listening at that time. But we had an audience. We would get some decent reports from around the country. Someone even heard us all the way in California. A lot of reports were coming from the Midwest, the South Central United States. So that's where I was making it into best at that time, and also more people were awake then, too. Well, that continued on and on. Post all the recordings to SoundCloud, so you could feel free to listen to any of the VORW shows anytime that you'd like. So, after that, there was a change, I guess you'd say, with the VORW shortwave broadcasting. Now, the YouTube show kind of continued on, but I diverted most of my attention to the shortwave VORW broadcasts. It's where the majority of my time and effort really went to. But something happened with them, and it was a good thing. At first I thought it would be a bad thing, but it was a good thing. So, one night, contact WBCQ. I always contact them before I put the show up on the Dropbox. And something happened. The guy usually responded to me and say, "Alright, thanks, wear it, such and such. Have a good evening." Usually some simple interaction like that. He sends me this email saying, "I'm sorry, but there's been some scheduling changes. A client known as Brother Stare," and this guy, Brother Stare, he's one of those crazy preachers, and he is like super rich. He has his own little cult community of followers on this farm. He lives in luxury of these people doing anything he wants. Pretty much. He's convinced the world's going to end. He's this old guy in his 80s, big white beard, had some sexual, some sexual encounters in the early 2000s with some women against their will. They were brought to court. So he's just this old rich perv, pretty much. But I mean, he must be on like 60 shortwave frequencies. He's on AM stations across the country, FM stations, satellite radio, everything you could imagine. Internet streams. He makes $500,000 a month from only listener support. Well, don't you think he decided to buy all the overnight time on WBCQ on 5110? So, my show got bumped, you can say. My show got bumped off the air because good old Brother Stare was coming in. So I was kind of pissed, But then they provided me with an offer. And they said, "Listen, you got bumped off the air. We understand that. We understand you're a paying client. You still have, about probably 15 shows left that didn't air. We'll be willing to compromise and help you out here. So we're going to move you to our good frequency." They run on 4 frequencies. 5110, which is kind of iffy. 7490, which is great. Complete, international coverage. 9330, which is also good. And then 15-something, which isn't on the air. So they moved me to 7490 Thursdays at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Prime time radio listening right there on the best frequency, the highest power transmitter, peak propagation time. You couldn't have asked for anything better. And rate was unchanged, didn't ask for anything more. They'd air the shows on that frequency. And that was great. All of a sudden the signal, which was a little weaker, was as booming in, extremely loud, high power transmitter, spanning across the country and across the globe too. And suddenly the amount of reception reports I got and emails just rose, exponentially even. I got all these shortwave listeners in the UK who were reporting in saying that the signal was making it deep into the United Kingdom. Listeners in Europe were saying they heard me there. Someone in the Netherlands said they heard me. There was someone in France, I believe, who picked me up. People across the US told me they heard me. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. I checked remote receivers in South America, heard it there. heard it in the Pacific. So the VORW signal was now one of the full-blown, international shortwave radio signals bouncing across the Earth. I thought that was pretty neat. And I'd always listen online on this WebSDR receiver in Michigan, along with other viewers who were invited to listen as well. And we'd listen together and listen to the show live, and it was a good time. Discuss it in the chat, kind of. So, VORW show, that was the best thing there. Had a lot of listeners, even in the local region, in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. A lot of people in the city said they were listening. A lot of people in Long Island picking us up loud. So that worked out great. Lots of listener requests. And that lasted until July. Very early July of 2015. You might be wondering, well, what happened? Well, simply put, the funds ran out. Ran out of money, so we couldn't keep the show going anymore. That's all there is to it. So, that's all there was to it. The money ran out. Couldn't pay for it. So took it off the air. So, that's where the VORW shortwave broadcast comes to an end, pretty much. All the recordings now have been uploaded to SoundCloud. Could be listened at your will, anytime you would like. They're there for you. They're there for you to listen to. And feel free to listen. Anyways, that was the end of the VORW shortwave broadcast. So after that, we had the Patreon going. Still have funds being raised. And on VORW's past and present, we've said to people, well, where do you want this money to go? Do you want it to go to bring back the VORW on shortwave? Or do you want it to go to the betterment of the channel? After many people said a certain answer, we're going to go with that for the most part. Though some money will still go to perhaps save up if we want the VORW back on the air. A lot of people said we want to see it go towards the channel and towards the reviews, any funds donated. We want to see it go towards the video reviews, running on empty, Energy Crisis, and all that. So, that's where the money's going. Believe it or not, on my trip down to Florida, I brought with me I brought a good deal of cash with me, might you say, to purchase food. Well, what money was that? Those were the Patreon funds. I was able to go out, pay for gas, transportation, go out, be able to purchase everything needed, set everything up, and, with those reviews, with that money, I was able to do these reviews, create them, make them a reality, because otherwise I didn't have any money to bring down to buy anything excess to try out. So those reviews, you can thank the supporters. That water review, that came, as silly as it may be, that came from your donations. So all those little silly videos that you might like or hate, they came from you guys and with your help too. So, as I said, one of the promises I made with Patreon money is that those funds would be used to be able to attain and review the latest and most popular fast food items to review. And that's exactly where some of that money is going as we speak. Anyways, so VORW after the shortwave broadcast of Cease has gone back to its more traditional format, though usually longer in length now, about an hour and a half to, in this case, probably 2-something hours. But that's the history of VORW pretty much. 100 more VORWs? Absolutely. Don't plan on doing really any big changes to the VORW show. I'm going to have the same format. And, to many more. To many more, ladies and gentlemen. I raise you my imaginary glass of Monster for a sip. Cheers. to 100 episodes of VORW. Sticking with the common theme of VORWs, how about we move on to the mailbag? We got many, many letters to read, so let's get on it. Now we're going to head over and check out our mailbag. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. If you want to write to us, message us on YouTube with any questions or comments, and email us, ripweekinterview1@gmail.com or vorwinfo@gmail.com. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week.